Hello and welcome to an introduction to Alchemist Review. Alchemist Review intelligently applies AI to support editors in the process of reviewing manuscripts. It can be applied at submission to categorize manuscripts according to scope, novelty, significance, and rigor, whilst also directly supporting editors at the point of editorial triage through a deep textual and citation analysis. All of this happens in a private data cloud using highly trusted and verified AI models. Manuscript submission remains unchanged, with the manuscript and metadata being transferred to Alchemist Review directly from the editorial system once the submission process has been completed. The first part of this walkthrough, we're going to focus on Journal Fit. Journal Fit is one of the newest features launched within Alchemist Review. It gives the option to be able to categorize submissions into various different buckets dependent on four key criteria. So scope, novelty, significance, and rigor. The idea here is not to make a final decision, but to be able to move manuscripts into broad categories so that you can be able to build processes around it. Anything low scoring, you may want to move out of the process. Anything high scoring, you potentially want to fast track. And anything middle might be significantly good from a scientific aspect, but may need a little bit of redirection as part of the transfer process. As you click through on the score, you'll be able to move into more detail about each of the categories to getting contextual relevance of why those determinations were made. As we go deeper into the manuscript digest, there are a series of summarizations and extractions that have been designed to assist editors in the process. The first is a general summary, which helps redirect the paper if there's a non-expert triage step in the editorial process. There's a secondary section that actually starts to do a deeper assessment on the manuscript itself, highlighting if there's any particular weaknesses or any aspects of the paper that the editor should focus on more strongly. It also starts to bring in an assessment of what potential remedies are suggested by the system, and an editor can choose to be able to act on those. The next section is focused on the assessment of the research itself. The advanced summary is the most entity-dense rendering of the full text of the article. This is really just the most used by experts, and it goes beyond an abstract. There's the extraction and the display of the key concepts within the paper, so the key named entities. And then if we have it, we also can be able to apply taxonomic terms at this point in the process. There's the extraction and contextual utilization of the key methodologies from the paper. And then finally, this is another interesting section where we are extracting the claimed contributions, so what the authors are claiming that is key and significant about their research, and be able to display those. Useful if you're potentially thinking about that as from a reviewer invite perspective, and you could be able to drop that into the reviewer invites to help engagement. Moving across to the citation evaluation part of the process, this is a different article, just to use from an example perspective. Many times the references in a manuscript are too numerous for an editor to check all of them in detail. However, there are an increasing number of hallucinated, irrelevant, or non-cited references occurring in papers. This is in addition to the required checks on self-citation, proportion, and journal distribution. And what citation evaluation does, it tries to address all of those issues in kind. Evaluation performs a number of checks on each reference. The key one is to find a source for the reference and make sure it exists. Source not found, as we see in this one, is increasingly becoming a flag for potential bigger issues within the paper. The other check is to flag how many times a reference has been cited within the text, and quite often we're seeing zero citations for a reference within the paper. Other key jobs done is to blow out the full author list for every single reference, and that also allows you to be able to have a far greater level of overview for the author representation within the paper. Picks up significant amount of self-citation too. And finally, you can see the journal representation amongst all the references within the paper. Thank you for sharing this demo with me.